Hello, 7th graders, Math 2. Um, and I hope it's going well for you. Hope you're doing well on order of operations. Today, I hope it's like a different day now. I'm gonna give you notes on distributing and factoring using distributive property, how they're opposites, right? So, distributing. We know that when you have a number next to parentheses, each of these gets multiplied by the number outside. And so I like doing the arrows. I'm going to multiply each of these by 4. And so 4 times 2a is 8a, and 4 times, positive 7 would be positive 28, and I'm done. So, um, anyways, distributing. You get 4 times 2a plus 7, and you get multiply these by this term by 4, and you multiply this term by 4. And you can't add these up because this doesn't have an a in it. You're done. This is just 8a plus 28. Right, this is called an algebraic expression. It's algebra expression because this term has a variable in it. This expression has 2 terms. The terms are linked together by the pluses and the minuses. Anyways, so now the opposite of distributing is factoring. So here, what's my greatest, and just think of your greatest common factor. What's my greatest common factor for each of these? What can I divide each of these by? Well, I can divide each of these by 3. And parentheses, so the greatest common factor is the number that goes outside. Now, if I divide this by 3, or you just think 3 times what would give you 6a, and it's 3 times 2a gives you 6a, and then 3 times what gives you 15, and that's going to be plus 5. And if you just check, and if you distribute, you get 6a plus 15, so you're right, and you know you're right. So as I'm teaching this, I want to teach you how to distribute, and I want to teach you how to factor because they're opposites of each other. So you can always double check. So here, I want you to try this one. So this is 3 times the difference of 5m minus 4. That's how you'd say it. And so I like doing the arrows. So go ahead and write the problem down and maybe write your answer. I'm going to pause for a second. So go ahead and write your answer down. And I hope you got 15m minus 12. Now over here, go ahead and write down this expression. Here you got 10m minus 12. And we're going to factor using distributive property. So find your GCF. What's your greatest common factor for both those? And the biggest number I can divide both those by is 2. That goes there. Yep. And if you divide that by 2, or think 2 times what is 10m? Anyways, 2 times 5m is 10m. And then if you divide this by 2, you get 6. But what kind of 6? It's negative. You have to put your minus in front there. And so if you just check, you get 10m minus 12, so you're right. And you know you're right. It's my little smiley face. So anyways, try this one. So now, inside the parentheses, you have 3 terms. You have to multiply each of these by 6. Okay? So multiply each of those by 6, and that'd be distributing. So the first term is going to be 12a plus the next term is going to be, 18c. And then the last term is going to be, and that'll be 30p. And you can't add those up. They're not like. This is going to be 12a plus 18c plus 30p is your simplified by distributing. So now over here, let's go the opposite way. Let's factor. So write it down. 14a plus 21c plus 35. Write that down. So I always like writing the parentheses first. Find your GCF. And what's your GCF going to be this time? What's the biggest number that you can divide each of these 3 terms by? And it's 7. Yep. And so then if you divide that by 7, or you think 7 times what is, anyways, if you divide that by 7, you get 2a, or if you just double check, 7 times 2a is 14a. And 7 times what's going to be 21c, and that's going to be plus 3, because 7 times positive 3c is positive 21c. And the last term, 7 times what's going to be 35, and it's going to be plus 5. You have to have a plus or minus in between here. 7 times 5 is 35. If they're both positive, the answer is positive. The last one. So I hope you're doing great with this, right? So next one, so to try distributing here, go ahead and copy it down and distribute. Again, I like doing my little arcs. It's my little mnemonic device, my little way of making sure I remember that I multiply each of these 3 terms inside the parentheses by the 2 out there. So each of these gets multiplied by 2. So you're probably already done. So anyways, you get 6m, you get minus 14p, and you get plus 16. And that's your answer when you've done distributing. And over here, so try factoring. This will be the opposite. So I'm going to write my parentheses. You got 8p minus 12q plus 20. So again, find your GCF. And your GCF this time is 2. What's your biggest number you can divide each of those by? That's right, it's 4. So then, again, just I think I'm just going to be double checking. And if I know I multiply each of these by 4. So 4 times what is 2p? Or if I divide that by 4, 8p, I get 2p. 4 times 2p is 8p. I'll make that p look better. And then 4 times what is minus 12q? You're going to get minus 3q or negative 3q. 4 times negative 3q is negative 12q. And then 4 times what is positive 20? And it'd be positive 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Right? Hope you're doing great with this. Okay, now for some challenges here. So now you're going to multiply each of these by 3m. So again, do the little arrows there. So 3m times 2a is 6, and a times m is just a times m. And you put them alphabetical. Don't write ma, write am. When you have 2 different variables, write them alphabetical. So that's just the convention. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's just the convention. You know, that's just kind of how you do it. So we all do it the same way. 3m times 6c would be 3 times 6 is 18, and you just have cm. And then 3m times minus 7 would be minus 21m, or negative 21m. There you go. So now try factoring. Find your GCF this time. So what's your greatest common factor this time? Well, if you look at your coefficients, which are the numbers in front, the biggest number I can divide each of those by is 2. But then if you look at your variables, there's an A, there's an A in each term. So your GCF is 2A. So now, I just do my arrows. So anyways, 2a times what is 4am, and that's going to be 2m. I could double check. I get 4am plus 2a times 3p gets 6ap, and then minus 2a times minus 5 would be minus 10a. Right? Hope you're doing great there. Okay, well, here's even a tougher challenge one here. So 5 parentheses, or 5 times the sum of 3a and 4c and 2. So again, each of these are getting multiplied by 5a. So the question is, well, 5 times 3 is 15, but what's a times a? And it's a squared. times 4 is 20, and a times c is a times c. And the last one, 5a times 2 is 10a. Right? And so here's your last challenge, factoring. So what's your GCF this time? See if you can get it. For your coefficients, the biggest number you can divide each of those by is 2. But again, you have an x, x, x. You can get it. You can divide each of these by 2x. So if I divide this by 2x, I get 6x, don't I? Isn't 2x times 6x going to be 12x squared? And then 2x times 5p is 10xp. And then 2x times 4 is 8x. So, anyways, so there's your notes and guided practice on distributing and factoring using distributive property.